the stillness of deep space aboard Station Helios, the emergency alert shattered the quiet vibrating through the titanium corridors like a living pulse. Commander Sarah Chen moved instantly, responding before the second tone could even sound. Her training and instincts honed from a lifetime on Earth's heavy gravity propelled her swiftly to the command center. The artificial gravity on board did little to hide the athletic poise of someone born under intense pressure. As she slid into her command chair, her voice was calm but urgent. "Report," she ordered. The hollow screen before her burst into life, showing a rush of critical data and red alerts. Lieutenant Rodriguez stood nearby, his dark eyes reflecting the harsh emergency lights. He spoke quickly, his tone tight but steady. "We are receiving a distress signal from the Centu Nebula restricted zone," he said. "It is the Luminarch research station caught in a Class 5 plasma storm." He paused, visibly swallowing hard. "Their shields are failing, Commander." The Luminarch was known as a hub of Etherian scientific advancement, housing over 300 of their finest minds. Etherians were crystalline beings, fragile and breathtaking but extremely vulnerable to environmental shifts. A plasma storm of that magnitude would not just threaten them, it would annihilate them. Chen felt her jaw tighten. "Show me the storm parameters," she commanded. At her words, the hollow screen shifted, revealing the monstrous swirling vortex of lethal energy. Even from a safe distance, the sensors fought to maintain any stable reading. Due to the intense electromagnetic interference, Rodriguez continued grimly, the Etherian High Council has already declared it a lost cause. Their evacuation ships cannot survive those conditions. The plasma would tear through their shielding in seconds. Chen leaned forward, her mind racing, analyzing the incoming data. "What about the AIS-class vessels?" she asked. The command center fell into a brief, stunned silence. The AIS-class ships were humanity's latest technological marvels, rescue ships equipped with plasma diffusion shielding and reinforced hulls. They had been built specifically to operate in environments that would shred normal ships to pieces, but no AIS ship had yet been tested under real combat conditions. Dr. Patel, the chief engineer, broke the silence with cautious optimism. "The simulations look promising," he said, "but simulations are not real." Chen stared at the projections, remembering that the AIS designs had been stress tested. Under even worse theoretical scenarios, the risks were high, but the alternative was to abandon 300 lives to certain death. "How fast can we have the HSS Prometheus ready?" she demanded. 3 hours, maybe 2 if we push it." Patel replied without hesitation. "We will need to reinforce the backup generators and double-check the shield harmonics." Chen nodded decisively. "Then make it 2. Contact Earth Command and request emergency deployment authorization." "Tell them," she paused briefly, choosing her words with care. "Tell them humanity has a chance to show we are more than just Deathworlders." Around her, the command center sprang into action. As Chen reviewed the incoming distress signal, the translated crystalline voices of the Etherians filled the room with haunting desperation. "Their shields are failing. The storm is overwhelming us. We cannot survive much longer. Please help us." Chen closed her eyes for a second, remembering the fear she had seen the first time she met an Etherian diplomat. They had been terrified of all humans. Deathworlders, they had called us. She thought creatures born from a brutal world, capable of surviving what others could not. But perhaps, she mused, opening her eyes, perhaps that was exactly why they were needed now. In the next 2 frantic hours, the HSS Prometheus came alive under the expert hands of its crew, nearly twice the size of any standard rescue ship. The Prometheus gleamed with readiness. Its systems tested its crew. Focused, Chen walked the corridors of her ship, feeling the slight tremor of the powerful engines through the deck plates. Every crew member she passed wore the same expression: fierce focus and unwavering resolve. They knew what was at stake, and they knew why it mattered. The bridge of the Prometheus was a fortress of engineering brilliance. Reinforced displays and hardened systems designed to endure extreme gravitational forces. Chen strapped herself into the command chair, surveying her team. All stations report readiness, she called out, and one by one they confirmed: engineering, navigation, medical shields. Each system green, each officer ready. Chen faced the main holoscreen, displaying the swirling plasma storm ahead. Send a message to the Luminarch station, she ordered. Tell them help is coming. Tell them the Deathworlders are on their way. The engines of the Prometheus thundered to life, pushing against the very fabric of space as the ship advanced toward the storm. The Prometheus was not a normal ship, and her crew were not ordinary spacers. They were human, they were survivors of a death world, and they were about to show the galaxy exactly what that meant. Commander Chen sat in the command chair of the Prometheus, watching as her crew moved with precision and focus around her. The atmosphere on the bridge was electric, every officer aware that they were about to attempt a mission no other species dared to even consider. The Prometheus was not just another ship, it was a symbol of everything. Humanity had worked for a vessel designed to venture into the deadliest conditions space could offer and come out the other side. As Chen reviewed the system's checklist, she reflected on how far her people had come. Once viewed by the galaxy as dangerous, unpredictable, and savage Deathworlders, humanity was now on the verge of redefining that legacy. Chen knew the stakes were higher than a single rescue operation. The entire galaxy was watching this mission, and their success or failure would ripple outward, shaping perceptions. For generations to come, engineering reports all systems green. Dr. Patel confirmed, his voice steady over the internal comms. Navigation ready, Lieutenant Park added. Shields at full strength, plasma diffusion online. As Chen acknowledged each report, she felt a surge of pride. Her crew represented the best of Earth, trained to face the impossible and prevail. Launch in T-5 minutes, Rodriguez announced. Chen nodded, standing briefly to address her crew. Across the bridge and throughout the ship, pressed the comms button to broadcast shipwide. This is Commander Chen, she began, her voice calm and strong. Today we show the galaxy what humanity is truly made of. We are not just survivors, we are protectors, rescuers, partners in this vast universe. Our strength is not in how we endure, but in how we use our resilience to help others. Helm, initiate launch sequence, full thrust on my mark. Chen commanded, and the massive engines of the Prometheus roared to life, shaking the entire station as the ship pushed free into the dark sea of stars. Ahead, the plasma storm loomed like a living wall of fire, its deadly energy visible even at this distance, twisting and seething with a malice that could tear lesser vessels apart. On the main screen, the storm surged and writhed, forming beautiful but deadly ribbons of plasma that reached out like grasping hands. At quarter speed, Chen ordered, keep shield harmonics monitored and adjust as needed. Lieutenant Park worked quickly, reading out the shield load status. Shield load at 30% within expected parameters. Plasma diffusion systems absorbing and redirecting energy efficiently. Dr. Patel confirmed from engineering. Chen watched intently as the Prometheus moved closer to the storm. The ship trembling slightly under the strain, but holding firm, human engineering at its finest. She thought this was what years of hardship and challenge had produced: technology and spirit combined to create a force capable of withstanding the worst the universe could throw at them. Suddenly, Park called out, detecting irregular plasma flows ahead. It was as if the storm itself was alive, reacting unpredictably to their presence. Dr. Patel theorized that the proximity of the Luminarch station might be affecting the storm patterns, their crystalline structures interacting with the plasma in ways not yet understood. Before Chen could respond, a massive plasma vortex formed directly in their path, spiraling into a tunnel of pure destruction. "Full stop helm," Chen ordered. Immediately assessing their options, Dr. Patel quickly proposed a daring idea. If they could synchronize their shield frequencies with the plasma rotations, they might be able to ride the vortex, using it as a high-speed corridor through the worst of the storm. Chen weighed the risks, knowing time was running out for the trapped Etherians. "Very well," she said, crisp and clear. "Patel, you have 10 minutes to calculate the required frequencies. Park, prepare shield modifications. Everyone else secure for extreme maneuvers." The crew moved without hesitation, calculating, adjusting, reinforcing themselves for what might be either their greatest triumph or a fatal mistake. Calculations complete, Patel announced frequencies sent to tactical. Ready for synchronization, Park confirmed. Chen gripped the armrests of her chair. "Take us in full power to forward shields." On command, the Prometheus plunged into the vortex. The ship shuddered violently, alarms blared throughout the vessel, but the shields held barely. Chen could feel the Prometheus surfing the violent currents of plasma speed, increasing far beyond their standard limits, but still within the realm of control. Rodriguez read out the data in amazement, confirming that they were moving at nearly double their maximum velocity, a testament to both human ingenuity and the courage of her crew. Ahead, however, danger continued to mount. Park detected massive plasma anomalies forming intricate tentacle-like structures of raw energy coalescing into dangerous obstacles. The very heart of the storm awaited them, where the laws of physics seemed to bend and twist into chaos. "All hands prepare for emergency maneuvers," Chen ordered, her voice ringing through the comm system. "We have proven we can ride the storm. Now let's show it why humanity never learned to fear the impossible." As the Prometheus pressed deeper into the swirling chaos, Chen remained calm, focused, her mind razor sharp on the mission at hand. Each second was a victory, each meter gained a testament to the human spirit. The storm was a living monster, but the Prometheus was a creation of survivors, fighters, people who had learned on Earth itself that even the most hostile forces of nature could be faced down and overcome. As the Prometheus surged forward, Chen allowed herself a small smile, not of arrogance but of determination. Ahead lay the Luminarch station and 300 lives depending on them to succeed. Failure was simply not an option. The Prometheus continued its relentless journey. Through the heart of the plasma storm, the ship surrounded on all sides by swirling currents of deadly energy that could destroy any normal vessel. In seconds, Commander Chen sat firmly in her command chair, her eyes locked on the forward screen, displaying the ever-changing chaos ahead. The bridge was tense but steady, each officer performing their duties with precision and determination. As the Prometheus pressed deeper, the storm grew more violent, the plasma energy forming into unpredictable patterns that lashed against the ship like living creatures testing their strength. The shield harmonics adapted in real time, dispersing the worst of the impacts, but the strain on the system was immense. Lieutenant Park monitored the shields closely, her voice cutting through the thick tension shield load at 45%, holding within tolerance. Plasma diffusion systems operating at peak efficiency, Dr. Patel reported from engineering. Chen nodded, absorbing the information quickly. Every second they survived brought them closer to their objective. Rodriguez checked the navigation chart's distance to the Luminarch station, approximately 30,000 kilometers. At current speed, 1 hour travel time, Commander. But the plasma density is increasing. It was a race against time, both for the Prometheus and for the Etherian scientists, whose fragile crystalline bodies were unlikely to withstand much longer against the storm's fury. The Prometheus surged forward, the ship groaning under the pressure but refusing to yield. As they advanced, Park detected another anomaly, a massive plasma vortex forming directly ahead. Unlike the previous vortex, this one pulsed with erratic energy levels, unpredictable and extremely dangerous. "Helm full stop," Chen ordered immediately. "Dr. Patel, I need options." Patel responded quickly, analyzing the data. "The vortex is highly unstable, but it may be possible to use the plasma currents to our advantage again. If we can synchronize with its rotation, we might be able to slingshot around the densest part of the storm and cut travel time by half. The risk is if we miscalculate even slightly, the ship could be torn apart at the molecular level." Chen considered the proposal for a heartbeat, knowing that hesitation could cost lives. "Proceed," she said. "Calculate the required shield adjustments and prepare for synchronization." Park recalibrated the shield frequencies while Patel refined the plasma mapping algorithms. "Helm ready on your mark, Commander." Park confirmed. Chen took a breath. Steadying herself, "Initiate," she commanded. The Prometheus moved deliberately into position, engines straining against the shifting gravitational fields generated by the vortex. At the precise moment Park initiated shield synchronization, the ship lurched violently as the plasma currents seized them, flinging the Prometheus forward at incredible speed. The forward inertia pressing Chen into her chair, but the reinforced restraints held firm. Rodriguez reported an unprecedented velocity surge, their speed now nearly triple what the ship was rated for, but the hull integrity remained within safety margins. Human technology once again proving its worth against the worst the universe could unleash. The bridge crew worked seamlessly, adapting to every twist and surge of the vortex, guided by Chen's steady leadership. Ahead, the Luminarch station appeared through the dense plasma, a faint glimmer of refracted light, battered but still intact. Life signs Rodriguez. Chen demanded, straining to see through the storm. "Interference." "Multiple confirmed signatures," Rodriguez replied, reading the sensor outputs concentrated in the central hub. "Structural damage to the outer rings is severe, but the core seems to be holding." Commander Chen knew that time was running out. The plasma storm showed no signs of abating, and the station would not last much longer. "Prepare for docking procedures," she ordered, assessing the situation rapidly. Tactical analysis showed that the main docking port was compromised beyond use, but a maintenance airlock on the station's ventral side remained structurally sound. Patel outlined a plan to extend the Prometheus shield bubble to create a protective corridor, allowing emergency transfer of the Etherians directly into their ship. As the Prometheus maneuvered into position, Chen prepared to lead the first response team herself. Donning an environmental suit and checking its systems thoroughly, she addressed her team over the comms. "Remember minimal physical contact. Let the Etherians set. The pace their forms are extremely fragile, and we are here to help, not terrify them." The team nodded, understanding the gravity of the situation. As the airlock cycled open, the raging plasma storm was held at bay by the shimmering blue shield bubble, a testament to the Prometheus cutting-edge technology. Chen and her team pushed off into the transfer corridor, the intense heat and radiation safely dispersed by the plasma diffusion systems. Ahead, the Luminarch station's maintenance airlock waited, its crystalline structure cracked and stressed but still intact. First Director Lyra stood waiting with a small group of Etherian survivors, their crystalline bodies shimmering in the dim emergency lighting. As Chen approached, she saw fear and wonder in their refracted eyes. Many of them had never seen a human up close before, and the stories they had heard were not kind. Chen moved slowly, deliberately, keeping her gestures open and non-threatening. Activating her external speaker, she addressed Lyra first. "Director, we have portable stasis units ready for critical patients with your permission. We will begin immediate evacuation." Lyra stepped forward, her form flickering with emotion. You really came to help us. Even knowing the dangers, even knowing what we believed about your kind." Chen met her gaze steadily. "That is what humanity does." She said simply, "We see someone in need and we help." Chen watched as a subtle shift passed through the gathered Ethereans. The fear began to recede, replaced by something like hope. The human medical teams began deploying the portable stasis units, carefully assisting the most critically injured Ethereans without causing additional harm. Rodriguez's voice came urgently through the comms commander. "The storm's intensity is increasing. Massive energy spikes detected approaching fast. We need to expedite the evacuation." Chen looked back at the hundreds of Ethereans still clustered within the station. Every moment counted. If they stayed any longer, both the Prometheus and the Luminarch station would be consumed by the storm. They needed a new plan, and they needed it now. Chen turned back to Lyra, First Director. "I have an idea, but it will require trust, complete trust, and it will require us to combine our technologies in a way never before attempted." Lyra hesitated, her crystalline form flickering uncertainty and fear, battling with the instinct to survive. Chen pressed on, "Your station's architecture is designed to channel and redistribute energy, correct?" "Yes." Lyra confirmed, her translated voice trembling slightly. "It acts as a massive energy conduit, but the plasma levels are too high. It would destroy us." "Not if we combine your structure with our shield diffusion technology," Chen countered quickly. "Your crystals can channel energy. Our shields can disperse it. Together we might create a field strong enough to protect both the station and the Prometheus." A heavy silence fell between them before a younger Etherean stepped forward, his form still bright and largely unfractured. "I am Spark of the engineering caste. I understand human technology. I will do it." Spark said. Chen nodded, feeling a surge of hope. "We work together then," she said quietly. "And maybe, just maybe, they could all survive." This impossible storm time seemed to blur as the crews of the Prometheus and the Luminarch station raced against the growing fury of the plasma storm. Within minutes, Chen had assembled her engineering and medical teams alongside Spark and a group of Etherean technicians. The plan was bold, almost reckless, but it was the only viable path to survival. Working together, they would attempt to synchronize the Prometheus shield generators with the crystalline energy distribution matrix of the Luminarch station, creating a hybrid plasma diffusion array that could protect both vessels from the approaching cataclysm. Dr. Patel worked feverishly with his team, modifying the shield emitters, rerouting power conduits, and recalibrating harmonic stabilizers, while Spark and the Etherean engineers adjusted the crystalline structures, fine-tuning them to resonate with the human shield. Technology integration would require direct neural connection. Spark volunteered to serve as the primary interface. Despite the obvious risks, as Spark linked their crystalline consciousness to the Prometheus systems, their forms shimmered with fluctuating light, struggling to withstand the massive influx of data. Chen watched closely, understanding that failure at this stage would mean instant destruction for everyone involved. Rodriguez monitored the storm readings, his voice sharp and urgent. "Wave impact in less than 5 minutes. Commander," he reported, "massive plasma surge incoming if we do not establish the hybrid shield. Now we will be overwhelmed." Dr. Patel called out from engineering, "Power transfer beginning now. Hold steady. Synchronization required perfect timing." Patel coordinated the energy flow. Spark adapted their crystalline matrix to the shifting currents inside the station. Energy levels fluctuated wildly, but the bond between human and Etherean technology began to stabilize inside the Luminarch station. The walls themselves began to glow, pulsing with a deep blue-white light as the Prometheus shields merged with the crystalline conduits. Chen could feel the ship vibrating with strain but holding. The plasma storm struck like a hammer, crashing into the newly formed hybrid shield system. The force of the impact was enough to buckle normal structures, but the hybrid diffusion array absorbed and redirected the energy, turning what should have been destruction into radiant streams of harmless plasma dancing along the shield lines inside both ships. Tension gave way to astonishment as readings showed shield integrity, not just holding but strengthening plasma energy levels, dropping shield resonance, amplifying. The first test had succeeded, but the cost was evident. Sparks' form was flickering dangerously, cracks appearing along their surface. Chen moved quickly to stabilize the connection, directing human and Etherian engineers to balance the energy load across auxiliary crystals. Throughout the station, Lyra coordinated her people, sending out commands as Etherians across the station began to lend their energy to Spark, forming a living network of light and consciousness around the crystalline matrix. Each Etherian acted like a conduit, amplifying and stabilizing the energy flow. Together, they became a single unified system, a living shield against the impossible. The bridge of the Prometheus filled with cheers as Rodriguez confirmed plasma wave diffusion, successful shield integrity at 95% and climbing. We are stable for now. Commander Chen allowed herself a breath of relief, but she knew the storm was far from over. Spark's voice came through the comms, weak but proud. Crystal matrix aligned shield harmonics. Stable integration complete for now. The worst of the plasma storm raged outside, but inside the hybrid shield dome, human and Etherian survivors worked side by side, ferrying the injured into the Prometheus and stabilizing the structural weaknesses of the Luminarch station. Medical teams moved swiftly, deploying portable stasis units around the most fragile Etherian survivors. Every moment counted as the storm continued to batter their defenses, yet hope burned brighter with each passing second. Within the Prometheus medical bay, Chen checked on the first groups of evacuated Etherians. The scene was surreal. Humans and crystalline beings working together, speaking gently and offering aid without hesitation. The barriers of fear and prejudice crumbling under the shared urgency of survival. Back on the bridge, Chen monitored the continuing energy balance, watching carefully as auxiliary systems shifted and adapted to the plasma storm shifts. Every Etherian contributing to the Matrix was a vital link in the chain. The entire rescue effort now rested on this fragile collaboration. But what a collaboration! It was a fusion of strength, ingenuity, and compassion that not even the most cynical galactic leaders could deny. Outside, the storm began to shift again, a final wave, approaching larger and more chaotic than anything yet encountered. Patel and Rodriguez scrambled to adjust shield frequencies, recalculating energy vectors, while Spark remained at the center of the crystalline matrix, their form vibrating dangerously close to catastrophic failure. Chen weighed the options quickly. She could order a full withdrawal attempt to escape while they still had power, but to do so would mean abandoning hundreds of Etherians who could not yet be moved. It was not a choice she was willing to make. Patel, can we reinforce the main shield harmonics through secondary feedback loops? She asked. Yes, but it will require a significant energy overload. He responded. It could fry the auxiliary systems permanently, and Spark may not survive the additional load. Chen opened a private channel to Spark, explaining the situation. You do not have to do this, she said. You have already done more than anyone could have asked. Spark responded through the link, their translated voice calm and steady. Understanding the unknown is why we exist. Commander Chen, you have taught us that strength lies not in standing alone, but in standing together. If this is the price to save my people, Then I accept it. Chen felt a lump in her throat, but forced herself to focus. All hands brace for impact, she ordered. Reroute all non-essential power to shield reinforcement. Auxiliary systems prepare to burn out if necessary. This is our final stand. The last plasma wave struck with the force of a collapsing star. The Prometheus and the Luminarch station shuddered under the unimaginable pressure, but the hybrid shield held Spark's form flared like a supernova energy, pulsing outward, stabilizing the entire matrix through it. All humans and Etherians alike held firm, refusing to yield. Plasma energy bled away into harmless streams, the storm finally breaking apart, defeated by unity where no single technology could have survived. Together, they had achieved the impossible. When the final plasma tendrils dissipated, the battered but unbroken Prometheus drifted in the silence alongside the wounded but standing Luminarch station. The storm was over. Rodriguez reported shield integrity at 70%, auxiliary systems mostly fried but core systems stable. Lyra sent a transmission across the link, her crystalline form battered but shining with pride and gratitude. "We are alive," she said simply, "because of you." Chen looked across the bridge of her ship at her exhausted but victorious crew. "Because of us," she corrected quietly, "because we chose to believe that survival is not enough. It is what we do with our strength that defines who we are together." Humanity and the Etherians had rewritten the meaning of the word survival, transforming it into a story of hope and new beginnings. 1 month after the dramatic rescue of the Luminarch station commander, Sarah Chen stood tall in the grand chambers of the Galactic Council. The space was massive, built with soaring crystalline arches designed to dwarf those who entered. Yet Chen showed no sign of intimidation. Her posture was steady, her uniform immaculate. She understood that this moment was larger than herself. It was about what humanity had demonstrated when faced with impossible odds. Representatives from hundreds of spacefaring civilizations filled the tiers of the council chambers, their holographic forms flickering in a soft array of colors and shapes. At the center of it all stood the Speaker of the Council, who called the session to order in a tone both solemn and expectant. The rescue of the Luminarch station, the Speaker began, has forced this council to reevaluate long-held assumptions about humanity's role in galactic affairs. Chen listened without expression, her mind replaying the desperate hours spent battling the plasma storm, saving lives where others had abandoned hope. Her gaze shifted to the Etherian delegation, where First Director Lyra and Engineer Spark sat among their peers. The fractures that had once marred their crystalline bodies now mended into intricate patterns that their people honored as marks of survival and strength. What was once seen as a limitation, the Speaker continued, has become a defining strength. Humanity's evolution on a harsh and dangerous world prepared them not merely to survive, but to persevere and to protect. Where others could not, Commander Chen, your actions and those of your crew have redefined what it means to be from a death world, and the Council recognizes that humanity's capabilities are essential, not only for your own survival, but for the survival of others. The Speaker gestured for Chen to step forward. Address the Council Commander with respect. Chen inclined her head and moved to the central dais, her voice clear and unwavering. Humanity never saw our resilience as a burden or our strength as something to fear. She said we evolved under pressures that demanded adaptation, that taught us not only to endure, but to protect those who could not protect themselves. We did not survive Earth's challenges by turning inward. We survived by working together, by facing the impossible with courage and determination. And when we faced the crisis at Luminarch Station, we did not see 300 fragile beings. We saw 300 lives worth saving. She paused, letting her words settle over the chamber. The shield integration technology we developed with the Etherians, she continued, is just the beginning. It is proof that when we combine our strengths, when we trust across the boundaries of biology and culture, we can achieve miracles. Colonies once deemed too hazardous for settlement can now be established. Rescue missions previously thought impossible can now become routine. As Chen finished speaking, murmurs rippled through the assembled delegates. Then Spark rose from their seat, their crystalline form catching the chamber light and reflecting it in a dazzling array of colors. I request permission to speak, Spark said, and when the speaker nodded, Spark addressed the chamber. Before the rescue, I studied human technology despite being warned that it was a dangerous waste of time. I was fascinated by a species that could endure so much, yet still strive to build, create, and protect. During the crisis, I witnessed firsthand the truth about humans. They are not remarkable because they are strong. They are remarkable because of how they choose to use that strength. The chamber grew silent as Spark's words sank in. Representatives from distant worlds began to nod. One by one, voices rose from different corners of the chamber. A Venusian wind rider spoke of how human deep-sea exploration technology had helped them navigate the crushing pressures of their gas giant home. A Helian physicist described how human radiation shielding had revolutionized their solar research programs. More testimonies followed, each painting a picture of a humanity far different from the fearful image many had held for so long. The speaker raised their appendages for silence, then turned once again to Chen and the assembled council members. It is clear that the policies regarding humanity's participation in galactic affairs must be revised. Commander Chen, we propose the formation of a new division within the Galactic Emergency Response Force, a unit staffed by human crews and vessels working alongside technical specialists from other species. You and your crew have proven that in situations where others would fail, humans can prevail. Chen stepped forward, her mind racing, yet her voice remained steady. The Prometheus and her crew would be honored to assist in establishing such a division, she said, but only under one condition: that humanity not be seen merely as an emergency solution, but as a true partner in the galactic community. Our strength is a tool, nothing more. It is the partnership, the unity that made the Luminarch rescue possible, not strength alone. The speaker considered her words, then nodded, a wise condition, Commander, one that shows why this initiative is not only necessary, but right. Let it be recorded that from this day forward, the term Deathworlder shall be retired from Council documentation. Earth and her people are henceforth recognized as full partners in galactic civilization. The announcement was met with a standing ovation, a wave of light and sound that filled the massive hall with a sense of hope and renewal. As the session concluded, Chen made her way to one of the observation lounges overlooking the council station. She stood quietly watching the endless dance of ships through the nearby worm gates, each vessel a thread in the vast tapestry of galactic life behind her. The soft chimes of crystalline footsteps announced Sparks approach, their form glowing warmly in the starlight. I have been assigned as primary liaison to the new Emergency Response Division, Spark said, their voice carrying both pride and humor. It seems my wasteful fascination with human technology has become an invaluable asset. Chen smiled, genuinely looking forward to working together, though hopefully with fewer plasma storms. Next time, she said. Indeed, Spark agreed, their form shifting into thoughtful colors before speaking again. You know, there is an old Etherian saying the strongest crystal is formed under the greatest pressure. Perhaps it is the same for the bonds between our peoples. Chen chuckled softly. We have a similar saying on Earth, she replied. Diamonds are made under pressure. Maybe we are not so different after all. Together they stood side by side, looking out at the stars, not as strangers, not as separate species, but as partners united by experience, trust, and a shared belief that the true strength of any people lies not in what challenges they can endure, but in how they choose to face those challenges together. In the years that followed the legendary rescue of the Luminarch station, the sight of human rescue ships working alongside alien vessels became a common and welcome occurrence across the galaxy. What had once been unthinkable had now become a symbol of hope and unity. The term Deathworlder, once whispered in fear, was now spoken with respect and admiration. Humanity had proven not just their physical toughness, but something far more valuable, their willingness to risk everything for the sake of others across 1,000 worlds. The story of the Prometheus and its crew was taught in schools not merely as a tale of survival, but as the turning point when the galaxy finally understood the true nature of human strength. On Earth, new academies were established to train joint emergency crews, composed of humans and members of dozens of other species. The Galactic Emergency Response Division grew rapidly, its missions spanning from battling wild plasma storms to evacuating colonies threatened by tectonic upheaval. Humanity's ability to survive the impossible, combined with the unique talents of other civilizations, had created a force capable of achieving miracles. Commander Sarah Chen, now Admiral Chen, remained at the forefront of this evolution, her leadership shaping the ethos of the new division. Her belief that cooperation, not domination, was the path forward had become a guiding principle, and under her guidance, countless lives had been saved and countless prejudices dismantled. Spark, too, had risen to prominence, becoming a symbol among the Etherians for what could be achieved when old fears were cast aside. Their crystalline form now marked with patterns that told not just of survival but of transformation, serving as a living reminder that the greatest strength was found in trust, not isolation. Together, Chen and Spark spearheaded new initiatives blending human and alien technologies into hybrid designs that could withstand dangers no single species could have overcome alone. Chen would often reflect on those first chaotic days at the Luminarch station, remembering the fear in the Etherian eyes, the skepticism of the Council, and the thunderous force of the plasma storm that should have destroyed them all. Instead, it had forged something new, something resilient and beautiful. Like the strongest diamonds formed under unimaginable pressure. Among the many missions that followed, none captured the spirit of that first rescue more than the operation at Sigma Phi, an isolated research outpost located near a volatile young star. When a massive solar flare threatened the outpost, the Galactic Emergency Response Division deployed its finest hybrid teams, combining human endurance with the technological finesse of multiple species. Together, they managed to shield the outpost long enough to evacuate its inhabitants, a feat deemed impossible. Even with the most optimistic simulations, the mission was a success, not because of brute strength, but because of the seamless cooperation between beings who once would never have trusted one another. The rescue became a symbol, new legend for the next generation to aspire to. Back at the Central Council Station in orbit around the neutral world of Harmonia, the annual celebration of Unity Day commemorated the founding of the Joint Division. Speeches echoed through the crystalline halls, celebrating the courage and determination that had brought the galaxy to this moment of unprecedented unity. Admiral Chen stood once again before the assembly, but this time she did not stand alone. Spark stood beside her, as did representatives from dozens of species there, different forms and colors blending into a living testament to what they had achieved together. Humanity, Chen said, addressing the gathering, was never meant to stand apart from the galaxy. We were shaped by hardship, it is true, but hardship taught us not only to survive, it taught us compassion, adaptability, creativity. Those traits belong not just to Earth, but to all who choose to walk forward together into the unknown when we faced the storm at Luminarch. We did not see strangers, we saw lives we could not abandon today, standing here among so many who once viewed us with suspicion. I am honored beyond words. Spark spoke next, their voice carrying the distinct harmonic resonance of the Etherians. Once we lived in fear of the humans, seeing only their strength and not their spirit. Today, we know better. Today, we celebrate not just survival, but the wisdom to choose partnership over fear, strength over isolation, unity over division. As their words echoed through the chamber, a ripple of applause followed. Not polite or formal, but genuine, filled with the raw emotion of countless victories and sacrifices made since that fateful rescue. Many young recruits looked up to Chen and Spark as legends, not because they were invincible, but because they had proven that bravery was not the absence of fear, but the decision to act. Despite it, afterward, Chen and Spark stood at one of the observation decks, looking out at the vast tapestry of stars, the worm gates, and the steady stream of ships passing between worlds. Ships now crewed by teams of many species working side by side. We have come a long way. Spark observed their form glowing softly in the ambient starlight. But there is still more to do. Chen agreed, her eyes reflecting the endless expanse of the cosmos. The galaxy is a big place full of dangers we cannot yet imagine. But if we face them together, I believe there is nothing we cannot overcome. Spark tilted their crystalline head thoughtfully. Once I thought that strength meant hardness, resistance, but you showed us that true strength is the ability to change, to grow, to reach out instead of turning inward. Chen smiled quietly. It was a lesson humanity had to learn too. Earth taught us that no single creature survives alone. No matter how strong together we endure together, we rise behind them in the council chambers. Preparations were already underway for the next wave of exploration initiatives, colonies on the edges of known space relief efforts, to worlds struck by natural disasters, research stations, studying phenomena previously deemed too dangerous. Dreams that had once seemed distant and impossible now approached reality because humans and aliens had chosen to trust each other to fight not for dominance, but for survival and for hope. As the Prometheus and other new hybrid ships set sail from the orbital docks, Chen felt a deep pride not just in her crew, not just in humanity, but in the galaxy itself, for daring to believe that the impossible was worth striving for. The stars beckoned, and for the first time in the long history of the galaxy, they would be reached not by isolated hands, but by many working together as one. The legacy of the Prometheus and the rescue of the Luminarch station did not simply fade into history. It became a cornerstone of a new era across the galaxy. Children of countless species grew up learning the story of how humanity, once feared for their strength and resilience, had chosen to use those very traits to save rather than destroy. In classrooms across human colonies and alien worlds alike, teachers spoke of the day when Deathworlders transformed into heroes, when fear gave way to understanding and isolation crumbled before unity. The name Sarah Chen became synonymous with courage and leadership, her image forever linked to the moment when humanity stepped fully into the galactic community, not as a threat, but as a beacon of hope. The name Spark, too, was celebrated, a reminder that trust and open-mindedness could forge bonds stronger than any material alloy. Together they symbolized what was possible when old prejudices were cast aside and new partnerships embraced. Museums displayed holographic recreations of the plasma storm, the desperate race against time, and the breathtaking moment when human and Etherian technologies fused to create the impossible shield that turned certain death into survival every year. The anniversary of the Luminarch rescue was celebrated not just on Earth but on Etherian worlds, and beyond Unity Day became a galactic holiday, a time to remember that the greatest strength any civilization could possess was the willingness to extend a hand in friendship, even in the face of overwhelming fear. The Prometheus herself was preserved as a living monument orbiting the neutral world of Harmonia, serving both as a training vessel for new emergency response crews and as a symbol of the enduring spirit that had reshaped the galaxy. Cadets from dozens of species walked her halls, studying the systems that had once held back a storm strong enough to tear stars apart. But more importantly, they learned the lessons of courage, sacrifice, and compassion that had fueled her mission. Admiral Chen continued to serve with distinction, leading the growing Galactic Emergency Response Division with a steady hand and an unwavering commitment to the ideals that had brought them all together. Spark rose to a position of high leadership among the Etherians, helping to bridge the cultural gaps between species that had once seemed insurmountable in council chambers and research labs on colony worlds and scientific stations. The seeds planted during the rescue blossomed into a new age of cooperation. Hybrid technologies flourished, blending the best of human engineering with the unique strengths of other civilizations. Medical advancements, energy systems, even exploration vessels bore the mark of this union, proof that together they could achieve far more than they ever could alone. Among the many worlds touched by this new era was the colony of New Horizons, a once marginal world located near the edge of known space before the Luminarch rescue. Few had dared to settle there. Its unstable tectonics and volatile atmosphere made it a death sentence for most species, but with the advancements born from human and Etherian collaboration, New Horizons became not just survivable, but prosperous. Its cities powered by hybrid shielded reactors, its structures designed to flex and adapt to environmental pressures. Lessons learned from surviving the plasma storm applied to building a future where once there had only been fear. Stories from New Horizons soon joined the tapestry of galactic legends. Tales of humans and aliens working side by side, building homes where only ruin had been expected, facing disasters not with despair but with the quiet, unyielding determination that had become the hallmark of their joint endeavors. Yet for all the triumphs, Admiral Chen never forgot the weight of the responsibility they carried. She would often walk the observation decks of Harmonia Station, looking out at the stars, remembering the faces of those they had lost and those they had saved. She understood that trust was not something given once, but something that had to be renewed. With every mission, every alliance, every act of mercy, Spark shared that understanding, and together they continued to push for greater inclusion, greater cooperation, not because it was easy, but because it was right. It was during one of those late walks that Spark once again joined Chen, standing quietly at her side, their crystalline form reflecting the light of distant stars. "Admiral, do you ever think about how far we have come?" Spark asked, their voice low and thoughtful. "Every day," Chen replied softly, "and every day I remind myself that the journey is not finished. There are still corners of the galaxy where fear reigns, where prejudice festers. It is our duty to reach those places too." Spark nodded, their form glowing with quiet resolve. "Then let us continue the work, Admiral, together." "Always," Chen answered their gaze, never leaving the endless expanse before them. In the decades that followed, the example set by the Prometheus and the Luminarch station continued to guide the galaxy through crises and conflicts. As new threats emerged, ancient fears occasionally resurfaced, but each time they were met not with suspicion, but with a resolve to remember the lessons of the past. Ambassadors, scientists, soldiers, and explorers carried with them the knowledge that true strength lay not in domination or isolation, but in unity. It was not a perfect future, no future ever is, but it was a future shaped by choice, by the decision to build rather than destroy, to reach out rather than turn away. And so as ships bearing the flags of many worlds traveled to new stars seeking new challenges, they carried with them the legacy of that day when a ship from a death world answered a call for help and proved that the strongest force in the universe is the will to stand together against the impossible. Years passed, and the story of the Prometheus and the Luminarch rescue became more than just a historical event. It evolved into a living lesson etched into the collective memory of countless civilizations across the galaxy. Unity Day continued to grow in importance, celebrated not only by those who had been directly involved, but by new generations who inherited the legacy of courage, cooperation, and hope. Humanity, once seen as the fierce and dangerous, Deathworlders had transcended that label to become symbols of resilience and compassion. The Prometheus itself remained a beacon orbiting Harmonia, serving as a training ground, a museum, and a monument to the spirit that had changed the galaxy within its reinforced halls. Recruits from Earth and distant worlds trained together, learning not just the skills of rescue and survival, but the deeper lessons of trust, sacrifice, and unity. Among the many new cadets was a young human named Elias Morgan, whose grandparents had once lived in fear of alien species, but who now dreamed of working alongside them to make the galaxy a safer place. Elias, like so many others, had grown up hearing the story of Commander Chen and Spark. He had memorized every detail of how they had faced impossible odds and emerged not just victorious but transformed. Their story was not one of conquest, but of choice. A choice to help, to believe, to trust that others, no matter how different, could be partners rather than threats. As part of his training, Elias and his classmates took part in simulated rescue missions using scenarios modeled after the Luminarch event. They faced plasma storms, gravitational collapses, and biological outbreaks, challenges that once would have seemed insurmountable, but which now were met with coordinated efforts between species leveraging their diverse strengths to overcome obstacles together. The culmination of their training was a visit to the Prometheus Bridge, where a preserved hologram of Admiral Chen delivered a message recorded decades earlier, her voice calm, steady, and filled with the quiet authority that had defined her leadership. "If you are standing here today," Chen said, "then you are part of something greater than yourself. You are the continuation of a promise that we made when we chose to answer a call for help without hesitation or prejudice. You are the proof that the future we fought for is not just possible, but real. Remember that strength is not measured by how hard you strike, but by how firmly you stand beside those in need." Elias stood in silence, absorbing the weight of her words, understanding that this was not just history, it was a call to action. After the tour, the cadets gathered in the Prometheus Observation Lounge, the same one where Chen and Spark had once stood, staring into the stars, discussing the endless work that still needed to be done. One of the instructors asked a simple question: why did humanity succeed when others failed? Many cadets offered answers: technology, resilience, stubbornness. But Elias raised his hand and spoke what set humanity apart. He said was not just strength or technology, it was the willingness to try, even when success seemed impossible, the willingness to risk everything for the sake of others, the willingness to trust when fear said to turn away. That is what made the difference. The instructor nodded, smiling. "That lesson," he said, "is the heart of what we do. It is why you are here. It is why Unity Day is not just a celebration, but a reminder that every mission, every choice builds the future we will all share." It was a powerful moment, one that stayed with Elias and his classmates as they graduated and took their places among the ranks of the Galactic Emergency Response Division, ready to write new chapters in the story that had begun so many years before. Looking back, the story of the Prometheus and the Luminarch rescue offers a profound lesson for us all. Whether in the fictional galaxy of the future or in our own world today, it reminds us that fear is powerful, but hope is stronger, that differences which once seemed like insurmountable barriers can become sources of strength when approached with courage and open hearts, in a time when division and distrust still threaten to tear communities and nations apart. The story serves as a beacon showing that unity is not easy, nor is it guaranteed, but it is worth fighting for. It shows that real change begins not with grand gestures, but with simple choices. The choice to help, the choice to trust, the choice to believe in a better tomorrow, even when the odds seem impossible. In the end, the lesson of the Prometheus is timeless and universal. No matter how vast the universe may seem, no matter how different we may be from one another, our greatest strength will always be found not in the weapons we wield or the shields we raise, but in the hands we extend in friendship, in the courage to stand together when the storm closes in and the world seems ready to break apart. It is in those moments when true heroes are born, not from strength alone, but from the choice to use that strength for good in the face of fear and doubt. And so, as we look to the stars or to the future of our own planet, we would do well to remember that the true measure of any people is not found in how fiercely they fight for themselves, but in how bravely they fight for each other, just as the crew of the Prometheus did, when they answered a call for help, and in doing so, changed not only their own fate, but the fate of an entire galaxy.